Hey folks, very often something that's talked about a lot in the aquarium hobby as far as stocking goes is a cleanup crew. And that could be fish that eat algae, that could be fish that eat, or other creatures that eat extra food that's sitting around the aquarium. We're going to talk about all that coming right up. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec. I hope you had a great week. This week's actually my birthday, so I'm making sort of a short video, a topical video, just to talk about something that I get a lot of questions about, and that is the cleanup crew for the aquarium. There are all kinds of fish that you can use for these sort of things, and so I'm going to basically just talk about ones that I've kept and kind of tell you my personal experience and some of my favorite ones in that genre of fish. So if you're new to tanks, you might be going, well, what do you mean by cleanup crew? Well, there's a couple of different things that people are talking about when you hear them mention this. When I first started keeping planted tanks, that's when algae really came and became a real issue for me. Plants, the things that grow plants grow algae. So they're kind of part and parcel, and learning how to balance and deal with that is all part of keeping the planted tank. So the first thing you need to do is make sure you're not putting too many nutrients into the water, and usually that's you feeding the fish. Now, if fish eat the majority of the food, it kind of gets processed and gets into something maybe the plants can use a little bit better. All the uneaten food, of course, is just going to rot and go to waste. Now, you still need to put the proper amount of food in, and that kind of takes some practice and takes a little bit of knowledge of your tank and the fish that are in there. Basically, you feed a little bit and observe, and feed a little bit more and observe. But I have a lot of fish that maybe they'll attack the food as it floats down, but they don't touch all the stuff that gets all the way to the bottom, or they only want to eat at the top, and anything that floats down is just disregarded altogether. So that's where you can add a few other creatures to kind of help that out, make sure that that food gets picked up and eaten. My absolute favorite thing for this are cherry shrimp. A lot of tanks can't keep cherry shrimp though because they tend to be pretty small, and a lot of you guys have fish that will just eat them up real quickly. There are actually a lot of different kinds of shrimp that are kind of bigger shrimp that can run around on the bottom and eat things, and that's kind of where we get into things like cory cats. Cory cats are one of my favorite go around the bottom and dig up all the leftovers kinds of fish. There are actually a bunch of fish that kind of fill this same sort of niche. But you can put a school of cory cats in your tank, and it's really entertaining to watch them just kind of excavate the entire bottom of your tank after you feed them. They get real excited, they run around, and they're kind of a joy to watch, as well as, giving you some sort of side benefit. One of my favorite fish that helps me with algae a lot, and also leftover food, is the Bristlenose pleco. These plecos are basically the only type of pleco that I will buy because they only get maybe at the max 5 inches long. Most of my tanks are too small to hold the really large versions of the plecos and stuff, so the Bristlenose is by far my favorite. They come in a wide range of colors too. I've recently gotten a yellow one. I've got a couple of red ones now. But even the plain ones, which are kind of brown with like some gold colors, I actually have a real good shot from last week of the biggest one that I have. They're really, really cool fish, and I enjoy them a lot. Another creature that's really great with leftover food and really great with algae too is the Amano shrimp. These are a large and pretty long-lived species of shrimp. I've had some of these for upwards of 9-10 years, and they are absolutely huge, which means they're safe from a lot of other fish. They're not going to breed inside of your aquarium. I think they actually need salt water to breed, but they do live just fine in freshwater. In fact, in nature, I think they go downstream towards brackish water, maybe some even salty water. They lay their eggs, everything hatches, and then they swim back upstream, and they dwell in fresh water. One of the more recent fishes that I've fallen in love with is the Panda gara. They're sort of a sucker mouth catfish, but they're real colorful. They've got the yellow and black sort of striped body. As they get older, that fades a little bit, but especially the young adolescent ones are particularly really beautiful. But they're really so adorable. They're great to run around the bottom and grab food, and they're all over the glass eating algae and that sort of thing. They're not going to go to town on like the really problematic types of algae that a lot of people care about, but they will kind of graze on that off flux, that stuff that kind of grows along everything inside of your aquarium, and help keep that under control. Another super great algae eating friend that you should consider is the Siamese algae eater. Now this is not to be confused with the flying fox, which looks very nearly the same. You can kind of tell the difference between the Siamese algae eater in a couple of ways. One way is the stripe that they have goes all the way through the tail. Another way you can identify it is that it has 2 barbels, and the flying fox has 4 barbels, little whiskers on its mouth. So if you need to tell the difference, really the best thing to do is just to go in and give it a kiss. And if you get tickled here and here, it was a flying fox. Seriously, especially when they're small, it can be really hard to tell the difference. Both eat algae when they're young, but the flying fox tends to be a lot more aggressive and a lot less of an algae eater as it gets bigger. My oldest one lives in the 210, and although he's not a perfect specimen at all, he is quite old now. I guess he's probably about 8 years old. I actually have one in here also that's about 2 years old. He's pretty small. And I have one in the 55. I tend to keep a lot of those because they will eat blackbeard algae, which I tend to have a lot of. The first time I got these, I got 2, and I put them in my original 55. If you go way back in my videos and you remember the one I used to sit in front of all the time, I started having a lot of algae problems on that big log that was in there. And it was all that blackbeard algae. It was real bushy and kind of waving in the current and stuff. I put 2 in there, and they just stripped it out. I mean, they ate it all within a matter of like a week or 2. It was pretty amazing. And they're about the only fish I know that I've seen eat that. Now, I don't think they consistently eat that, and as they get older, they probably tend to go more for the fish food, which has got to taste better than the other stuff. But they can be really, really helpful in the aquarium, and they're a fun and very active fish to keep, so I definitely recommend them. Just remember that they get a bit bigger, and even though they're a schooling fish, they can be sort of aggressive towards one another, and they tend to be a little chasey. A lot of activity with those guys. Now, one creature that's really commonly overlooked is the snail. Now, you could go with big apple snails and things like that. They're definitely going to go around and eat some leftover food and stuff like that. Maybe some algae too. Not a lot though. But even common pond snails are great for eating leftover food. They eat algae. They'll eat dead plants. A lot of people can't stand them. They don't want to see them, and they can look a little terrible if you've got too many of them. But if you've got things kind of balanced out and you notice some in your aquarium, that's not the kind of thing you want to just seek out to eradicate necessarily. I get all kinds of questions about people trying to kill their snails, when really, probably what they should do is just feed their fish a little bit less. Because all that leftover food goes into those snails, which goes into babies. And folks, that's all I got for you this week. Tell me, what's your favorite cleaning crew member? Is there somebody I forgot to mention? Be sure to tell me in the comments down below. Sorry it's such a short one this week, but I wanted to take a little extra time to celebrate my birthday. If you've ever had your daughter go to college and have a birthday in the same week, then you know what it's like to feel old. But that being said, like always, follow your bliss, keep a clean tank with some friends, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. And folks, that's all I got. Hey YouTube, this is Pecktec, and I hope you're trying to do just like that make you want to pull your hair out. Just watch them kind of excavate the entire. So first off, let's talk about fish that are. These plecos are in fresh water. Actually, in the native. Swim back upstream. Bar none. Another thing that's real important to know is that another way you can algae. But even common, come on now.